Hello and welcome again to another edition of Fortify City TV Roundtable. And we continue with another interesting article in the Constitution of the Republic of Liberia. So, welcome those of you out there in Radio Land and those that are watching us. We want to say thank you for joining us again. And I want to say welcome to our panelists tonight. And I'm going to give them some minutes, 1 or 2 minutes, to just make the introductory statements. And I'm your host, as always, uh, Pastor Patience. It's good to be back here on the round table. And you are welcome. So let's start with Mr. Griffiths. You are welcome.
Thank you.
Just your opening comments, the next 2 minutes.
Thank you so much once again for giving us the opportunity to be able to speak to the Liberian people about issues that concern good governance. Today we'll continue on the Constitution, and we're on the topic of graduation fee, the last episode, and we'll let us continue on that because we never exhausted it to some extent. So my take on it is that good governance starts from the governing body to help give guidelines and clarity to all stakeholders. What I see about the graduation fee saga in Liberia is that is I think getting out of control. I won't say out of control, but it's getting out of control, adding to the hardship of the people of Liberia. And I do believe that the Ministry of Education has an obligation to the Liberian people to come out with clear policy, if any, and come very clear and humbly to the Liberian people to rescue them, because the graduation fee for graduation, I think, is reaching at a point where it becomes worrisome to parents who are happy for their children to graduate. And when those fees start coming, it kind of take away some joy. So I will stop there for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Griffiths, and welcome again to Fortify City TV Roundtable. Mr. Jones, welcome.
Yes. Thank you very much. And I'm very happy to be on 45 City TV to discuss the constitutional reform in Liberia. So it's a pleasure being here. I hope we have a wonderful discussion.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, Mr. Dow Moses. Okay, Moses is having a little internet connectivity challenge, and we continue right after our intro. I want to say welcome again, and today we are talking about education, and we are looking at the Constitution. What is the Constitution saying as it concerns education in Liberia? And hopefully we can have Justice Chane here on this program, so he can give his opinion on the issue at hand. Um, Article 6 is what we're going to be discussing. And hopefully our viewers out there, you can contribute, you can text us, you can call in. And the number we're going to use today is going to be our WhatsApp number, 952-201-9287. And we're going to add another number later. But for now, that's the number. And Moses, you are welcome. You want to give your opening comments before we continue? Moses, can you hear me? Okay, Moses is he has a challenge
Yeah.
over there. We continue with our discussion. The Constitution of Liberia in Article 6, the Republic shall, because of the vital role assigned to the individual citizens under this Constitution for the social, economic, political well-being of Liberia, provide equal access to education opportunities and facilities for all citizens to the extent of available resources. Emphasis shall be placed on the mass education of the Liberian people and the elimination of illiteracy. Emphasis shall be placed on the mass education of the Liberian people and the elimination of illiteracy. This is Article 6 of the Liberian Constitution. And it brings me to the question, how does the government of Liberia, how does the government define equal access to education? And what measures are in place to ensure that all citizens have equal access to educational opportunities? So I need your opinion on this matter. And I'm going to start with Griffiths.
Thank you so much.
You are welcome.
The Constitution is the bedrock upon which the Liberian state rests. It is that same Constitution that is sworn upon by elected officials. It is for us to derive their power, their ability to govern. And it is that same Constitution in Article 6 that clearly says education is very important. If Liberia should be a nation that contend with other nations in the world on the global stage, her citizenry need to be educated. Unfortunately, I can't remember when was the last time Liberia built schools, like high schools, in each of the county to say, hey, we're going to build 3 high schools in each county this year. I can't remember that. And it comes to the inability of ministries in Liberia to run professionally and to be able to be held accountable by the Liberian people. Ministers of education, I haven't seen him or her having a nation tour to go to the various counties because of various logistic reasons to be able to do her job. So, on the part of the Liberian government in whole, I'm not just talking about the less than 1 year old government, educational infrastructure is very much lacking, and the materials to prepare Liberia citizens for this current dispensation is very much lacking. So I will discuss forward, we begin to bring some example on. So I'll stop there. You're welcome.
Thank you. We Moses is still having some technical problem, but we go to Mr. Chuchu Jones. Thank you so much for coming. Mr. Jones was should I say a presidential aspirant, Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Okay.
And I think I'm still a presidential aspirant.
Okay.
Um,
So the question,
so,
I'm sure you still remember the question. It's how the government define equal access.
well, uh, the government has not. So I don't know of any document or literature of which Liberian government has defined what equal access means in Liberia. If anyone has it, please direct me to it. So, in other words, what does it mean? If I'm making $100,000 a year, do I get to send my kids to private school and public school and not pay? Whereas if somebody who is making no income, they have to go to the same public school. What does equal access mean? Does it mean high school? Does it mean college? Does it mean one person can, the government officials can get scholarship and send the partisan and the children and the family member abroad to school, but the regular person don't have that access? So we don't know what equal access means in Liberia, and that's, I think, is the first thing we need to define what equal access means. Does it mean that certain amount is set aside in for every child
Mm.
who can afford it to have an education to college? Does it mean helping with other things like books and computers and registration fee for those who cannot afford it? So the previous successive governments in Liberia have done a very poor job. They haven't clearly laid out an educational agenda. They're disinterested in it. They are not concerned with that. In other words, most of the people who are educated in Liberia are people who parents, put their children through private schools. And the ones who receive public education, including scholarships, unfortunately, are the ones who return back to the country to become useless. They're the ones who, get position, and they don't even provide any kinds of assistance in terms of adequate assistance in terms of the government budget allocation. So that's a problem in Liberia, and I think it needs to be addressed because it is in the constitution. So it's not a choice whether the government wants to. If a government doesn't do it, they are in violation of the constitution, and you know they're breaking the law.
Thank you. We want to go to Moses now. I don't know. Moses, are you okay? Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, I'm here. Are
Okay,
you hearing me
so
clear?
you will
Yeah.
give us your opening comment and you go straight into our question on the table. The question here is how should we
Wow,
define equal
you are
access?
coming broken.
Can you hear me? The, the,
I'm not hearing. I'm not hearing what you are saying. But if it is concerning the education, I had this previous post. Though I did not get you what you are saying, but I know in my mind,
excuse me,
it's from
Moses.
the educational arena.
Excuse me, Moses. You need to go
Yeah.
out and come back in because you need to hear me. Please go back out and log back in. So that way you hear. If you can hear me now, you're not going to hear the rest of the questions. So can you go back, get off the studio and re-log in? Yeah. So we're talking about equal access. That's what the Constitution says in Article 6. So since we don't know how the government have defined equal access to education, what, in your opinion, should be some of the measures that needs to be put in place if we are talking about equal access? I will start with Griffiths. What are some of the measures that need to be put in place that we think constitute equal access?
Yeah, it's very simple. The House of Representatives, through whom the budget is passed, they know how to set rules and regulations. For example, I heard recently that each of the lawmakers received 45,000 United States dollars, and that is equal asset to the $45,000, equal asset to a vehicle. So they knows what equal access is. So, but when it comes to the actual work of governance, then they begin to get excuses or lack of funding. They begin to digress. And the people of Liberia are not asking, saying, appropriate 45,000 United States dollars for each government school in the country every year. They are not saying it. But what I'm trying to say in relation to that, the government of Liberia knows all high schools in Liberia. And if they're going to support the Ministry of Education, most Liberians should be aware that if you are in a government public school, a high school, or the elementary, or the kindergarten, or the university, in general, we should know the standard, the required contribution of the national government, who are the sole receiver of the taxes of Liberia, who does business on behalf of the people. And since it is enshrined in the Constitution, and Article says that the government of Liberia should provide some amount of quality education for the people and make it accessible to the population. It is the question for the House of Representatives to deliberate on every year when they are passing the annual budget. And if they cannot make that very clear, just as many of us are not in the House of Representatives, but we know that they do receive vehicles, allowances, and other bonuses. Like, for example, when they went to Buchanan, Grand Bassa County, they had X amount of money allocated in the budget that if they should attend that meeting that weekend, they all going to have equal access to X amount of money. So it is time for the Liberian people to sit well on their couches and begin to question their elected official and the cabinet ministers in relation, like the Minister of Education right now, to say, hey, make a phone call and say, hey, how much money is coming to my school, whichever school it may be. As the superintendent, he is the eye and the ear of the president in each of the county, so that he or she can relate their concern about the access to education. Because if I can remember, Liberia is not building new high schools. Liberia is not even providing chair at the University of Liberia that is adequate enough for students who are attending classes to go and sit down. Students, when I was in the UL, I just saw my ID card not too long ago. 2006, I was there. People used to move chair from one classroom to another classroom. And it's still happening that there are no adequate chairs. For example, I went to the Ghanaian high school. There was not a day that we move a chair from one classroom to another classroom. All classrooms were filled with chairs because the government of Ghana allocated resources for each student who is registered in the classroom to have a seat. Moreover, I'll be closing in the 20 seconds. Moreover, at the beginning of each semester in the Ghanaian high school, they give us new books. New books will come across the table. Each student will get a book for each subject. A book, not a pamphlet. They will share the books. That will equal access. Because the books were not being sold to individual students, but everybody sit down and the books will go across the whole classroom and each student receive a book for each class. So that's what I think is equal access to educational material. So I will stop there. As we go forward, we'll get more information.
Moses. Moses, can you hear me? Moses? Okay, while we're waiting for Moses to settle down with
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah, yeah.
internet.
So you were saying something, they
Sorry about that. Moses is having an internet problem. We'll go to Mr. Jones. We are talking
Yeah,
about equal access, to quality education. What are some of the measures? We might not know the government meaning of equal access, but in our own, understanding or knowing, where you've been, knowing Liberia, where we have passed, the challenges we have gone through, and we have come to different, the Western world, and we see what is happening. What are some of the measures you think can be put in place to ensure that the citizens they have access to quality educational opportunities?
and I'm glad that you mentioned the word quality. It's one thing of getting an education; it's another thing of getting a quality education. So quality is very important, and quality costs money. So the first thing is the government should allocate a substantial amount of its budget to education investments. I'm not talking about recurrence salary. I'm not talking about paying minister $7,000 and paying deputy minister $6,000. I'm talking about investments in education. Every year, a substantial amount, at least I would say $50 million or $100 million, should be allocated for new investments in education. I would target things like technology, things like healthcare, okay, engineering. We have a problem in Liberia today where for every road or every major construction, we got to rely on the Chinese. Whenever we need any kind of important work done, we got to bring the Americans, we got to bring the Ghanaians. So we don't have quality uh, education in Liberia. You have people doing technology with all computer or software. It's a joke. So the only thing that can solve that problem is if the government and the president take the responsibility to say I will make education investment a priority. Secondly, meaning no child in Liberia, regardless of where you're born, who your parents are, what tribe you are, will have a less education than any government official children. I repeat that no child in any part of Liberia should go to a school that is that a government that the president can send his son, daughter, or grandchildren to. That is equal access and that is quality education. If I can send my kids to
video is no longer important.
CWA, but the Irish person in the country can afford CWA tuition, then I fail as a leader. Then I have no love for the country and the people, and I'm not preparing the people in the country, the generation, the future generation, the hope of a country for tomorrow. If I had to send my kid, in the case of Joseph Boakai, in the case of George Weah, in the case of Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, these are the leaders, and they send their children to school in America, colleges in America, right? But they are over the universities in Liberia. Go to your finance ministers. Go find out what schools they send their children to. Some of them on the board, the current finance minister on the board of University of Liberia all these years. Did he send his children to the same public school? No. Samuel Tua did. His children goes to public school or even family member? No. So it tells you clearly that the people are being shortchanged. And what I would do or recommend is that number one, I would take away the public schools. These public schools are just another means of wasting money and providing substandard education. Because I don't see any president or high or rich person in Liberia sending their children to public school. They all send their kids to Catholic school. They all send their kids to. So what if the schools are not, if the school is so good, why aren't your children going there? Why aren't your children going to the different Tottenham High and the different schools? Nothing wrong with those schools. There are good professors, dedicated people who work at those schools, and there are very brilliant students at those schools. But the problem here, they are underfunded, they're neglected. And if you can take the best person and put them in a school that is not equipped, they're not going to do very well. So I would take away the public schools and I would issue a voucher system where every child will be entitled to a certain amount of money every year. And you go to any school you want to go to, and the government just pay that school. And we close down all the public schools in the country. That's what we do. That's equal access to me.
Yeah, we were saying equal access, okay? We're saying quality. The Constitution say equal access to education. We say equality. And there's nowhere in the article that says quality. So maybe they can justify their actions. They can say, well, they say equal access. They didn't say quality education.
But if I can just add one phrase to that, the Constitution is a baseline. It's just a law. It's the minimum standard. Okay. I think I'm sorry, I'm not on video. All right. So the Constitution is a baseline, just like the law. It doesn't mean that because they didn't say quality, so as a leader of a country, you should not give your people quality education, just like healthcare. What's the point of giving a substandard education? How are they going to compete? How are they going to be engineers? And how are they going to be doctors? And how are they going to be? So if you're going to do it, then do it the best way so you don't have to be flying to Ghana or America or Saudi Arabia. You can go to the same JFK and the EWA hospitals and all those places where they are providing healthcare, or you can send your kids to the same school. But if you have to avoid it for your children, then obviously you are telling us that it's not good enough.
That's right.
Then you shouldn't be managing it.
Let's look at one of the comments from our viewers here. He's saying that the same yardstick that is used to determine legislative districts should be used to determine the quality of K to 12 schools per capita. Do you agree with him, and why? Or you disagree? Why?
If I understand his question correctly, I absolutely agree with him. That in a sense where we use districts, every district in Liberia has a representative. In fact, my policy was based on district proportionally. So again, divide the government budget, the educational budget, into the different districts, and how many kids live in that district. You divide that amount by the number of kids living in that district, including Morovia, and you set aside that money in the central bank. Once the child go to wherever school,
let me hold you, Mr. Jones. Let's take this caller.
Okay.
Yeah.
Your name and where you calling from?
I've tried, multiple times to join people through, the live broadcast, but again, unfortunately for me, I only have the Lone Star network, in Maryland, while the Orange, outage of the network. So my name is Moses Dow. For those of you who are, following the show. So mainly, I think Pastor Patient, you were asking the questions concerning, I think, education, right?
Yes. The question here is, we are talking about what are some of the measures you think can be put in place to ensure that the students, the children have equal access to education, to quality education?
Yeah, so for the issue of access to quality education, just like the minister recent or new policy or a policy that was introduced in 2015, and I was left on the carpet from 2015 to recently in the work administration, they just brought on a table that they say that people who are specialized in intelligence discipline should go back to this discipline and give room to those who have the expertise in teaching areas. They instead, rather than bringing an agriculturalist, in the teaching field who does not have, or who does not know how to, how to begin a foundation of the teaching area, who don't even know, where to begin from. But just because he has a BSc or he has a master, he just giving the classroom to just go and teach. So you have to bring quality people in the sector who got the expertise in those areas. And the minister recently, the recent announcement or member of the minister is also welcoming that again those who are specialized in the teaching field should only be given the power to go to teach in our library schools, and those who got BSc in different disciplines, those who got master in different disciplines, they should go back to those areas that they are specialized in, so they can be able to make a meaningful impact in the society, rather than breaking them back or they're breaking them in the classroom.
I'll take you, Moses. Okay, you complete your thoughts, Mr. Jones.
Yeah. What was the question again? I kind of lost now.
Yeah, the yardstick, Mr. Goya talk about the yardstick here. The same yardstick that is used to determine legislative districts should be used to determine the quality, the quantity of K to 12 schools per capita. That's what he's saying here.
Yeah. So I agree with the district proportionally. In fact, everything should be based on the district, because I think when we say education in Liberia, we say opportunities. We're talking about Montserrat County and perhaps Monrovia, correct? And that is very unfair to the rest of the people in the country. Why, a person has to leave from the county, or they can't get good college education unless they come to Monrovia. So if you use the district system, right, and I will close down every public university and every public school, including University of Liberia. And I would take the money and I would proportion it to every district in the country and say, okay, this is for this district number 2 in one county. You get $8 million of I think their budget is like $40 million or something like that. Or you get $2 million. That money is available to students. They can use that money to go to any school, wherever school they choose or the parent chooses. And that will encourage educational institutions to open schools in those areas. And the people, so you serve both purposes. One, you create development in all the counties. 2, the people get to stay in the counties and go to school. 3, they get jobs in the counties and districts. And you get economic growth throughout the country. But if you bring in everybody to Monrovia for, the University of Liberia, what happens to the rest of the country? So that's the first thing. That's equality, meaning everybody gets the same amount proportional to the number of people in a district. Fair, everybody gets the same thing in terms of get to choose what school you want to go to. You can't use the money for any other reason. If you choose not to go to school, you don't get the money. But if you choose to go to school, you can go to any school, Catholic school, Methodist school, wherever, college, university. You go there and you graduate. You stay right in your district. Because most of the times when we're talking here, that problem we're talking about, we already know like there are a bunch of problems. And I think we should start focusing on solutions. We already know the university, they close down every 2 years. No chairs, no computers. The campus is dirty. They can't pay the teachers correctly. We already now hear the problem. And I'm thinking government can manage itself. How is it going to manage a university or hospital?
There's something here in this article that is very interesting. Sometimes when you read some of the articles, that's what I think this profession we've been talking about, we are advocating for reform, constitutional reform. And there's some article that really need to be looked at, because when you look at some of the wordings and the way they are carved, it's like it's mind-blowing. Let's look at the article. Yes, Article 6. Let's look at it again. You know what it's telling us here? Article 6 says, let me go back and read that article. The Republic shall, because of the vital role assigned to the individual citizen under this Constitution for the social, economic, and political well-being of Liberia, provide equal access to educational opportunities and facilities, excuse me, and facilities for all citizens to the extent of available resources, to the extent of available resources.
Okay.
Do you
Yes.
hear what they are saying over there?
Yes. That's what I want to talk about to the extent of the yeah.
To the
That's
extent,
what I wanted to read to the extent of the available resources.
yeah.
But as Brother Jones said, we should focus on the solution. We know the problem already.
No,
So
let's
that's
forget.
why
Forget about that.
when I said from the beginning is that the House
Do you
of
think? Do you
Legislatures,
think? Do you think that phrase should be if you really want equal access and you really want quality or equal opportunities for everybody? Should you say to the because it's like contradictory, right? Should you?
no, is let me say this:
Yes.
if
Go
the
ahead.
people are good, if the
Mm-hmm.
people that in government are good people, it is a
Mm-hmm.
good phrase. That's what I said from the beginning. The House of the Legislature, they give them $45,000. I don't know if it every year or every 2 years or every term. I don't know, but they know quality cars, vehicles. That means you did not expect to be using some old reggae taxi on the ground of the judiciary to be parking. They know good quality. So to the extent is that they should be able to know that my brother, my sister, my child going to that school. And therefore, I will endeavor with the power that I has to allocate, like Brother Jones keeps saying, through the district, give them the money to develop a system that it can be okay for everybody. For example, Liberia been around over 170 plus years. If we going to give X amount of money to each district in Liberia, and Liberia was building one classroom per year for each district, how many classrooms going to have? Let me get this example of good people. For example, one of the founding fathers of Kenya, he had few kids, and this president of Kenya sent his children to different regions of Kenya to go to public schools. He said, if all of people's children are going to these schools, my children are no exception. So he took his children, they never live in the same region. He sent his children to different regions. For example, in Liberia, okay, one of my child will go Lofa County. One of my child will go Grand Jide. One of my child will be in Mangibi. Because he, as president of Kenya, has good intention for the educational system of Kenya. That's why if a Liberian does not know anything about Kenya, there's one thing we all might agree upon is that Kenyans are educated. So the gross neglect of Liberia educational system not providing adequate resources to the extent. For example, since 2005, all Liberia government budget has been over $500 million. I'll propose whatever terminology, proposed budget. It's 500 million on the book. I think the first year might have been a little bit less. But after 2005, 2006, all Liberia budget, proposed budget, over 500 million. So can we say $2 million going to go to each county? How many counties do we have? It's not even 100 million. And each county in Liberia can get maybe $2 million. But what do Eddie City Johnson put in there for county development fund? It was $250,000 for county development. I don't even know what development would that be. Under Josh Manawia government, they had $150,000 allocated for county development fund. If I'm wrong, I stand to be corrected. But this is a country that if the president even travel from their house to the executive mansion, the cost alone allocated is more than 50,000 United States dollars. So where is our priority as a people? And this is what I love this show that Liberia, let me say one thing to you directly. Stop being lazy about not reading your constitution. Because if Liberians could read their constitution, they will find a way and means to reach out the official in government that are abusing the same constitution, that are not following the constitution. All of them say, I was elected, I get a right to be in the office, I get a right to salary, and not functioning. There's no office in Liberia government that is functioning. So who's supposed to hold it accountable is the citizen. But the citizens are sitting there and not fighting for themselves. And this is why we are here to say, listen, go and read the Constitution. If whoever that governs you today is doing well, that's fine with us.
Thank you. The question here was to an extent. But let's hear where Mr. Jones has to say concerning this issue.
Yeah, and I don't think anything wrong with the question or the statement in the Constitution to say it to the extent possible. Yeah, any country you have
other things you can make other things possible, but when it comes to education, you place actually to me it's like placing a limitation. Or if it's there, we're going to do it, but if it's not there, we will not do it. This should be a priority, don't you think so?
Then that's what the Constitution should say.
That's why we need reform, right?
Well, yes, it said at some point to make education, maybe the exact thing, a priority. I think it says it.
Accessible.
Okay.
Or resources.
Let me read it for you.
Yeah, please.
Okay, hold on. Hello, this is FCTV. Okay, hold on. Let me put you on speaker. Okay, your name and where you calling from?
This is Suzy Koya. I'm calling from Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate the conversation. Hey, Alex, how are you doing? And Mr. Griffiths. The conversation is good. Let me first say what I do, so I guess that will add some background to my call. I am a math teacher here in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I have been teaching math for the last 15 years in high schools. I like the conversation about Liberia and the fact that we enshrine. I think we're one of the fewest countries that enshrine as a right education in our constitution. Article 6 speaks to that. So that means it is not a privilege, it is a guaranteed right. Article 10 also speaks about constitution, but it talks about teaching of the constitution in our classrooms. Right. Those two articles to a larger extent have been ignored. Right, and so I think my brother Griffith spoke about the elected officials not doing their work, and that our people should read the Constitution. Well, how would our people read the Constitution if Article 10 that says that the Constitution should be taught in the schools is not being taught in the school? It's being ignored, and so as a result, we have an electorate who doesn't understand their rights and responsibilities of themselves or of their elected leaders. So it's very difficult to hold people accountable to something that you don't know that they're accountable for. And I think on the issue of Article 6, I heard you talk about quality education, and we also talk about to the extent possible. I think that phrase, to the extent of available resources, is the loophole. That is the loophole a lot of people have been using to not fund education.
That's
and,
right.
And one of the comments I listed in there real quick, so I don't take over your show, and I'll get off the phone. But one of the comments I put in there is when you start to talk about equity, of educational resources and facilities. I would propose that the same yardstick they use to determine electoral districts, because they use that per people that live in a particular geographic location. We should use the same thing when we determine how many high schools, how many elementary schools, how many kindergarten schools we have per capita, per people. It's really sad that when you talk to people who come from rural Liberia, the further away you move from Monrovia, from the city center, the worse your educational experiences become. The less quality you get in education. Just think about it as you leave from Monrovia. Just in Montserrat, go to Todi and compare that to what you get in central Monrovia. And as you go further and further, I'm from Lofa, as you get deeper and deeper into the hinterland, the quality of education drops. If you look at the southeast, you have some counties that have 3 high schools, 2 high schools, and we are saying that people are coming to Monrovia and not going back. Well, if I want access to equal opportunities and education is the way out there, I'm going to leave the county and go to Monrovia. And then we all complain, I'm going to go back to Monrovia. How would I leave Monrovia? If the only way I can become a lawyer, I have to come to Monrovia to go to Louis Arthur Grant School of Law. How would I leave Monrovia if the only way I can become a doctor is to come to Monrovia to go to Tagliati? You think that your one children won't be lawyers and your one children won't be doctors? Let me just put it my way, right? So this is a good show. I really appreciate it. Always nice to hear from my brother Chichu. And Mr. Griffin, it's nice meeting you. Thank you for the show. I'm following.
Thank you, brother. God bless you.
Yeah, before you go, is he still on? I just have a quick question.
Yeah, he's still on. Yeah.
Okay. What's his name again? Kuya, Mr. Kuya. I got a question. I mean, congratulations on being a math teacher. I always respect people who teach. And my question to you, would you be interested in going to teach math or any subject in Liberia? And what would you require to do that?
That's a big question, but let me answer that and give you some history. So actually right now, I am the director of math for Minneapolis Public Schools. So I oversee about 80 schools here in math. I train math teachers now. I'm out of the classroom now, but I'm training math teachers, writing curriculum, writing pedagogy, all those other pieces. We offer that to the alien government. We offer that. There are other countries that what they do is they come, for example, Alex, I'm in Minneapolis. They come to my school and say, how much are you paying Mr. Goya? And Minneapolis say, we pay Mr. Goya $10. And they go, okay, we will get Mr. Goya to come to Liberia. We're paying the $10 we pay him. We'll bring him for 1 year. And we want to make sure that his job is still secure. He will come to Liberia and learn the way Liberian students learn, and he will bring the way American students learn, the new way of teaching. He will come back to you and be able to train your teachers on what you learn here, because Liberian students do come to Minnesota too. And so then the 2 school system or the 2 countries are benefiting, right? So I come to Liberia, they don't keep me in Monrovia, they send me to a village, and I'm there teaching and training those other teachers that are there and building capacity. We offered that to the alien government. They said, we're going to think about it. Nothing came out of it. The Georgia government came. We wrote a whole proposal and sent it out. As a matter of fact, I volunteered because in Minnesota, I'm also responsible for licensing teachers. I volunteered to come to Liberia on my own, on my summer, 3 months, to help lay out a teacher licensing system in Liberia, to help lay out a new curriculum, to revamp our curriculum, revamp the way teachers train and train teachers. And all I asked from the government was to buy me a plane ticket on any aircraft to go to Liberia. I will house myself, I will feed myself, I will transport myself for 3 months. And the response I have from the government was, my man, you ought to pay a way to go back to your whole country. That was the response I have from the government. And so to answer your question, it would not take a lot for some of us to come back home and volunteer a year, take a sabbatical of a year or 2 to help Liberia. But the country, the government has to be willing. The government has to be willing, just like my brother said, people only want for themselves. The same amount of money you put into the legislature, you have to be willing to respect people who have an expertise. So to answer your question in short, I can get up to my park, my bank account in Monrovia and come to Liberia, go to Solo, Lofa County, or go to Kaweke, or go to Rio G. I can go anywhere and be able to provide the expertise. But the government has to show that they're really serious about doing the work.
And let me be very clear. So this government refused to even buy your plane ticket to go to Liberia.
Previous government
before this.
Okay, have you approached this government, and what is the
We've sent us some communication right now. They have been in some talks with us on how we can be able to help, and things don't move as fast in Liberia as we would hope.
I know.
This is we'll see how far it goes before somebody say the time here from us, and then we'll come back again and hold them accountable. Let people know, hey, you can't say the librarians in the diaspora should come home and help, and we'll offer our help. You don't take it. Right? They just get there, we'll get on Facebook and bash it. So we're off Facebook, but we'll offer you the help. You don't want it, so that's what we do. Just tell people, like, ain't taking our help.
Okay, excellent.
Thank you so much, my brother. God bless you.
Thank you, Susie.
The reason why I ask those questions is because
You're welcome.
the reason I ask those questions is because the argument that first of all, there are not people who are willing to go to Liberia to work in the counties, doesn't hold any water. There's a lot of Liberian teachers here who will retire. I know of several. Chris Dennis, this male professor at the University of Indiana, moved back home, teaching at the University of Liberia. He's also a math professor, PhD. And I know several other people who will go to Liberia, people who are teaching here. So that, in other words, you're getting the finest, most qualified people. And most of them will go, if not fully voluntarily, they will go on a very less cost to the Liberian government. So there is no excuse to say, and these people, imagine now, if you were to give the budget to the districts, right? And let's say Lofa County, one district, Funchima district, has $2 million that they are willing to invest in teachers and education. You think that meant what they will not open a school in that county? You think you will not want to go there and move there and open a school or math program? So the government doesn't even have to be the one to build the schools. Once the money is there allocated to the children, you will have the best schools and the best teachers in Liberia, and nobody will need to come to scholarship except maybe you come in and do astrophysics. But that's basic education, basic business and economics, because people. So the problem here is the government has not made it a priority, and the government they are not utilizing even the current budget. If you just took the current budget they're using, the $40 million, and you close down all those schools, they got public schools, right? And you just ask Liberians who are in the teaching area, listen, if you open your school and any student who go to your school, send us the invoice, we'll pay for them. You solve that problem.
Okay,
then you also take. Let me add to this now. You could also take the Universal Library because you shut it down. A company will be able to take over it and pay the government for that assets. The caliber will take it over and get the government maybe $50 million for it, which you could put right back in education, and all your people will have equal access to education, quality access, and you won't have to have that on your budget anymore. How difficult is that for somebody to think on? But we got brain dead people managing our country. That's the problem.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jones. This person is saying the government should tap into the expertise of professionals in the diaspora. So that is true. We got a lot of people here that are willing to help. So the government need to make use of the opportunities they have right now. We are ending. This discussion is all about education. We will continue this discussion on Thursday. So if you are just joining us, this is Fortify City TV Roundtable, and this program is the Constitutional Reform Forum, and we are seeking reform for some of the articles in the Liberian Constitution 1986 that that's not so clear, or we believe that the article does not favor the days and the times we are in. So there should be some kind of amendment to these articles. So we are here, and if you are just joining us, we want to say thank you, and please make it your date with this roundtable the next Thursday. Come with another interesting discussion. Okay, so we're having our closing comments. I want to start from Mr. Toh. We are fast spent. Time is fast spent, and we gotta go. So make it brief, 2 minutes. Your closing comments.
Thank you so much. We also appreciate all Liberians that listen to the broadcast in any means possible. Just as the caller said, he have to come from where he lived in the country to come to Monrovia. Because if you want to get a law degree, you had to come to the Los Alta Grand School of Law in Monrovia. You can't have law degree anywhere. And you also want to be a doctor, you got to go to Douglaty Medical Hospital. So the government again has failed on equal access to education. We only have these two doctorate, doctorate, and at the Douglaty is still well under funding. The doctors that are graduating are not up to international standard, because I have friends that graduate from Douglaty Medical Hospital. They are not up to international standard. So we have a long way to go. So, ladies and gentlemen,
Thank you.
the Liberian government need to function. Thank you.
Amen. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Griffiths.
welcome.
Mr. Jones, your closing comments.
Yeah, again, I would say thank you for having me. My, closing is that we have failed ourselves. We elected people who are incapable, they are unqualified, they are corrupt. So we should take that responsibility. We saw the past, we saw the performance or lack of, and we choose them. Then we expect now for them to perform miracle. Now we see the government. Who is the government? You're talking about Joseph Boakai. You're talking about Valenti Kofa. You're talking about, Obama Kamara. These are the individuals who have looted the country, mismanaged the country, misappropriated things. Why are we hiding from, who the government is? The government is not the ordinary people. We know them by names. So they have failed us. We are the ones who are sending them money, electing them, supporting them, wearing green t-shirt and blue t-shirt. And today, we don't want to take that responsibility and say, I'm responsible because I did not do my homework. I was lazy. I just went and jumped behind a crowd of people and supported somebody today. And we want other country now to kind of help us. So I hope this serves as, a litmus test that who you support, who you endorse, okay, you should be responsible for the actions and the behavior. You can't come by and say you don't know. Then you're an irresponsible person because you did not do your homework. And you don't have to support anybody. You don't have to. If you don't, it's the same way you don't see a thief and you see a murderer and say, I will choose the thief just because the thief is less damaging. You say, I choose neither of them. So that's the choice. Hopefully we'll learn these things because they're affecting everybody, affecting the schools, they're affecting the hospitals. And so we can make better choices and our country can be better. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much. Thank you for my panelists here, Mr. Jones and Mr. Griffiths. And those of you out there that contributed to this program today. We still have a lot of questions when it comes to Article 6 of the Liberian 1986 Constitution. And we read that article. We're going to continue this article on Thursday, but there are so many questions that we want to know as it concerns the educational system in Liberia. How does the government define equal access to education, and what measures are in place to ensure that all citizens have access to quality educational opportunities? What is the current state of education in Liberia, and how far has the government progressed in achieving the goal of mass education and eliminating illiteracy? You know the question, there are so many. How does the government allocate resources to achieve this constitutional mandate? And are those resources sufficient to address the scale of the challenge? There are so many questions we are asking, and I believe you want answer as well. So join us on Thursday as we come to you with another edition of the Constitutional Reform Forum here on Fortify City TV. It has been a pleasure having you with us, and I'm your host, Pastor Patience, and I'll see you Thursday. God bless you. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your week. Thank you for joining us. Thank you so much. Thank you.